personal selling. So, in personal selling, an individual salesman plays an important role in influencing the customer, in persuading the customer to buy the product. So, it is the individual who takes up the responsibility of promoting the product, explaining the features, explaining the benefits, and pushing for the sale. So, what is the process of this so called personal selling? What are the steps involved? How the salesman reaches out to the customer and how he pitches for the product, and ultimately how this entire process is converted into a sale. So, this is what the process is all about. So, in the process, the first step is prospecting. And yesterday, I did explain the step to you that this step basically involves understanding the customer and understanding the profile of the customer, most importantly, because the better you understand the customer profile, you would be in a position to offer relevant suggestions. You would be in a position to relate your product with the customer more precisely. So it's first important to understand the profile of the customer. And the next step is called pre-approach. So what happens in this? It's called pre-approach. I think it has come as re-approach here. It's pre-approach. So so the next step is called pre-approach. Basically, in this pre-approach, the sales personnel is trying to collect relevant information and trying to prepare his presentation. Basically, you have to prepare your presentation here. So you have to basically do an outline as to what are the aspects that needs to be presented and what are the points that needs to be discussed when you meet the customer. So you have to basically do a kind of a plan, right? You have to draft a plan as to how you will pitch, how we will push for the sale. So that quick plan, keeping in mind the profile of the customer, needs to be drafted. So this process is called a pre-approach. And of course, then comes your third step, which is approach. So what happens in approach is basically you're physically meeting the customer, and there are certain prerequisites here, which is mandatory. That at the time of approaching the customer, you have to ensure that you are presentable, you're able to explain the customer in the language which he understands, and not to use too many technical terminologies, right? Otherwise, that would confuse the customer. So, making initial contact with potential customer and creating a favorable impression about the product should be the focus in this approach step. And once you have that introductory remarks, then you have to proceed with the presentation. So sales presentation should be designed in such a way that it should attract the prospective customers attention, and the presentation of the salesman should generate interest, and it should generate the desire for the product, right? So that's how the presentation should be. And it is also important to invite the customer in the conversation. So it should not be like only you are going on with the presentation and you're actually not indulging the customer to ask any questions, any doubts during the presentation. Of course, you want to allow the customer to ask as many questions as possible at the end, but during that brief presentation, in case if the customer has any doubts pertaining to certain features, certain points what you would have highlighted, that has to be clarified at that point in time itself. So this is how your presentation should be. Now, once your presentation is over, obviously customers to whom you have given presentation will have a lot of questions pertaining to product, and you have to ensure that all these questions, all the objections in the form of doubts. What the customers may have, you have to handle them with a positive approach, right? You should not get offended because customer is asking you too many questions, and customer has a lot of negative questions about the product. That in case if a customer has also, you should have patience to listen to the customer and not take those negative questions uh, in a wrong way, but rather clarify them and clear all the objections raised by the customer, right? A good salesman turns objection into a reason for buying. So that's how it should be. So whatever the customer has raised the objection, you have to ensure that objection gets converted into a reason for buying the product. Next comes closing the sale. So closing the sales is like the climax. So when the salesperson actually asks the customers to buy the product, so after handling all the objections, after solving all the doubts, whatever the customer had, finally you have to ask the customer to go ahead with the purchase and probably make the payment and close the sale. That's the ultimate step. But that is where you should not think that the sales process has been concluded, uh, because if you stop it there, you will not be able to build good relationship with the customer. So one step ahead, one step beyond closing the sale comes the follow up. So right, so you have to probably, after the customer has received the product, after the customer has started using the product, it would be very nice if you could call the customer as a courtesy and find out if everything has gone well, if the installation process has gone well, if the customer has received all the product, the customer has started using the product, and probably ask for some sort of feedback as to whether the customer is okay, if the customer is satisfied. So the last step, which is called the follow up, will definitely create a favorable impression. But generally what happens, most of the sales personnel, they will end the moment the sale is closed. That is actually a very wrong approach. You should not just close the sale and think that since you have already achieved one sale and that's the end of it, that should not happen. Because uh, at times, this so-called follow-up, right? In that, probably customers may have some issues. If you solve them, or let's say customer does not also have an issue, but that courtesy call will help you to build the relationship with the customer. Or maybe, customer would have really liked the product after using it and he wants to recommend some of his friends. So during a follow-up call, he might give you some of the references that even some of my friends are interested. So probably you can take those references, right, as leads, and then again start with the same step number one, prospecting, right? So this is the complete process of personal selling. So personal selling is a personal form of presentation. The previous one, what we had discussed, was advertisement. Advertisement is non-personal, but here in personal selling, the entire process is designed specially for one individual, right? And this entire process is carried out by a salesman, wherein his salesmanship plays an important role in persuading and influencing the customer to try the product or to buy for the or to consider buying the product. So that's about salesmanship. Now, next we also have public relations, right? We have public relations, we have propaganda, we have publicity, but sales promotion is something which most of the customers are personally involved and associated with. So sales promotion can serve as an important tool because at times advertisements might not do the required job. Advertisement, you might watch an advertisement, right? You may forget it at one point in time. You know, advertisement does not serve as any purpose, and a lot of people do omit watching ads, even though the company is heavily spending on ads. But sometimes it might not be effective because the moment you go to a retail store, your perception about the product might be influenced by a salesman. You would have watched ad of a particular product, you would have gone there to buy a particular product, but salesman, using his salesmanship, might convince you to buy something else. So in that case, you see, salesmanship does wonders which advertisement could not do. But at times, even salesmanship might not be able to convince the customer. So neither advertisement nor salesmanship. But at times it is the little premium promotional offers at the point of sale that can change the mind of the customer, right? So that is what happens in case of sales promotion. Despite the attention paid to the advertisement, marketers may have to shell out lots of fund on sales promotion, as advertisements offer only a reason to buy, whereas sales promotion offer an incentive to buy. So that's the difference between advertisement and sales promotion. In advertisement, you're just convincing the customer, influencing him to try the product. You're telling him what are the reasons why you can buy this. You're explaining the benefits. But in the sales promotion, you're saying if you buy this, this is what you're going to get. So you're trying to say customer that if you buy this product, this is the benefit in the form of a free incentive is what you're going to get. So sales promotion involves activities that create buyers incentive to purchase a product or that adds value to the buyer or the trade. So sales promotional activities are not just designed to push the product by giving incentives to customers. Sometimes the incentive can also be in the form of value. A value can be in various ways, which I'll be presenting a table here, and that will probably help you in understanding what are the ways of doing sales promotion. Some of this definitely I'm sure you personally would have involved in any of these sales promotion methods. The first one is called the allowance, discounts, and deals. And these are conditional benefits offered for quantity purchases or for advertising the manufacturer's product or for carrying out a special product display. So sales promotion is not just only for customers, it is also for the retailers. So that's what the definition says at the end, right? Or the trade. So it is for the trader also. So at times you would have seen when you visit a supermarket, the owner of the supermarket would have displayed a certain product at the entrance so that it can catch the attention of the customers who walk into the store. Now, why deliberately only that product has been put up in the entrance? Not because the retailer wants to promote that product, but retailer is being paid to do so. So at times the brands specifically collaborate with various retailers and they ask them to promote their products by doing various forms of displays in the store, for which the marketer pays the retailer. So marketers get paid. Marketers do pay the retailers for specifically displaying the product in the strategic locations within the store. So that is also kind of allowance which the retailer gets, right? Not just the customer, but the retailer also. So these are conditional based, as I mentioned. Only if you fulfill certain conditions, right, you get this kind of deals. Then you also have the loyalty programs. Loyalty programs is basically to encourage the customers to become a frequent buyer and to make repetitive purchases. So the more you buy, the more reward programs, the more points you get. And at one point in time, you can redeem all those points. And using those points, you can buy some other product. Or using those points, you can get some additional. Then you have point of purchase promotion. So in this, the emphasis is on displays and demonstration in store exhibited designed to induce impulsive purchases. So this method primarily emphasizes on demonstration and showcasing the product in a manner that it should influence the customer. So sometimes you have visited a store, in a particular kiosk, right? A small stall would have been set up, and one or two salesmen in this stall would offer you demonstration free of cost, right? So you might get attracted by the demonstration given, and then you might try to buy the product or get convinced. Sometimes samples are also given. So in case if you really like the sample, then immediately you will buy the product. Free samples. The samples can be in the form of small sachets or small bottles. Vouchers and coupons. So this is something again which are very popular. Like there are many websites that promotes these kind of vouchers and coupons. So you get discount coupons, you get gift vouchers, which you can redeem, right? Contest and prize draws. This has been there for a very long time. So in contest, basically you have to make a purchase and then you'll be given a kind of a lottery, right? And then there will be a lucky draw. So it's kind of a lottery system. So whoever wins it will get a certain prize. Then you have premiums. When we say premiums, this can be in the form of a gift, or it can be a deal like buy one get one free. So all these are called premium. And likewise, you also have the exchange offers. So you have to probably exchange your old product with the new one, and you get some sort of a discount for the old product what you are surrendering to the marketer. Then off late, we also have something called as cashbacks, which have become very popular these days. So on making a transaction of a certain denomination, certain value, you would get a certain cashback in your digital wallet, which can be utilized again for the purpose of making new purchases or making payments. So cashbacks are also a kind of a sales promotion technique. So all these sales promotion techniques, right, are designed to incentivize the buyer for their purchases. So it's like you're giving some sort of a monetary or a non-monetary incentive for making the purchases. And at times it works out very well because we always like something that comes additionally with the product, something which is coming free of cost, brings delight. Right? And then of course you also have publicity. Now the difference between advertisement and publicity is that publicity is free. You're not paying for it. If you want to show an advertisement, whether it is on a television, radio, or outdoor, you have to pay. And there's a huge amount of money involved in ads, advertisements. But publicity is free, right? So publicity works like a benefit for the organization because you don't have to actually do anything and you get all the attention, right? So that's how publicity works. It's an unpaid communication about the organization that appears on the mass media. Now, there are different techniques of publicity, of course. So, one of the techniques is called public relations. So, public relations is a marketing communication intended to collaborate and build mutually beneficial relationship between organization and its stakeholders. So, you're trying to connect with your stakeholder and trying to communicate with them using your public relation function. So, who are the stakeholders? Obviously, stakeholders includes customer, shareholders, creditors, suppliers, government, and you have a dedicated department called Public Relationship Department, which is headed by the PR, Public Relationship Officer. So, this Public Relationship Officer, what happens is he tries to improve the image of the company in the eyes of the public. And in order to do this, various kind of activities are carried out. Basically, you want to build a good relationship, right? You want to set up a positive image in the mind of public, for which you're doing all this. Press releases. So in press releases, information is communicated to the stakeholders. Uh, what kind of information? Various kinds of information, which includes annual reports. It can be a kind of a newsletter or a magazine, or it can be a corporate ad, right? Or it can be a product launch event in which you are inviting all the media, and media will do the rest. Right? To invite media for your product launch event, they will do all the coverage. So they will say, okay, so and so company has launched so and so product. These are the features. Right? So you see in press release, you don't have to actually spend money, unlike the way you spend in advertisement. Here, you have to just communicate about your company's operations, and you get all the free publicity by the media. Then you have investor relationships. Investor relationship is a separate dedicated department that will take care of the concerns of the investors. So it can be shareholders, it can be debenture holders, right? So any grievances, any issues, any questions, any clarifications, this is the dedicated department that handles all this. Then you have something called as speeches. So sometimes, in order to get all that attention, it is better that the executive management of the company appears for interviews on media platforms. It can be a interview on online channels, or it can be on traditional media like television. Right now, recently you saw
Ola had launched its electric scooters, and the CEO of the company had given interviews to so many different media channels. Right, so everybody were talking about the CEO, this interview. They were doing discussion as to what happened in the conversation. So all that gives some sort of a free publicity to the company. Then you have something called as media relation. Media relation is also kind of a PR activity aimed at developing good relationship with the media. And media, when you have a good relationship with media and when you are answering the questions, whenever they ask you, then it will spread a positive news about the company. Right. So that is also there. Then you have sponsorship. So sponsorship is something which most of you are aware that how it works. When sponsorship company provides financial support to promote a certain event, and you become the sponsor of that event. Right. So let's say you're sponsoring the marathon, which is going to be held in Bangalore. So obviously you will get all that publicity. Then you also have public service activities, so in which the company takes up certain corporate social responsibilities like building free schools, like taking care of the needy, providing them with free products or basic necessities. That is also a nice strategy to get all the free publicity. Then you also have lobbying, right? Lobbying is like indirectly influencing the authorities and the government to help you with your agenda. So it can be like giving donation during elections to a particular party. When the particular party comes into power, right? Definitely, it will help your organization because you have given all that donation required at the time of elections, right? So these are all various forms of you know public relationship activities. And given the fact that now we have internet, we have social media platforms. So a lot of executives of top companies also are indulged uh, in engaging the audience directly. So as a CEO of the company, you can directly communicate with the audience using platforms, micro blogging platform like Twitter. Right, most of the top executives are on Twitter. So sometimes you would have read in the newspapers about the tweets that are made by various top executives, and their tweets becomes a news item for the media, right? Especially Anand Mahindra from Mahindra is very active on social media platforms, as you're aware, and he's known for his engaging tweets, and he's also known for his initiatives. At times, he has helped so many needy people, right? And he also keeps sharing the videos on Twitter about interesting things that are happening in the country. So in this way, right, you are also trying to create a positive image in the minds of the stakeholders by undertaking all these kind of activities and being present on various social media platforms. So this is also kind of a publicity which you're getting free of cost by merely being active on the social media. Then you have propaganda. Now, propaganda is totally different from publicity. From a marketing perspective, publicity is one of the component of promotion, right? Publicity is unpaid, wherein the organization is not paying anything, but the media is covering the entire activities of the organization, and media is giving all the free publicity, right? But what happens in case of propaganda is it is a kind of a again it is also kind of a promotional activity that focuses on spreading information, ideas, at times rumors also, and this is deliberately done to influence the customer, right? So in propaganda, you're sometimes creating that hype, which might be which might sound not good from an ethical point of view, but yes, it works at times. Intentionally creating some sort of a controversy, right? So when you create controversy, when you create hype, when you spread rumors, obviously this also becomes a free publicity for the organization, and organization gets the all the limelight required. All that is also covered, right? So this is also one way of promoting the product. So these are the four piece what we have been discussing for a while now.